Life Expo. And I'd like to introduce you to Reynolds. She is an oracle of freedom. She is a best-selling author of many books. Today we're going to be talking about recreating Earth and energy that was channeled in Archangel Metatron. And Victoria is also the creator of Fearless and Free TV. So we'd like to welcome Victoria Reynolds.
Thank you so much, Tammy. I'm hoping, it sounds like this is cutting out.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to New Earth.
Woo!
It might not look like it right now, but that is exactly where we are. How many of you have heard the term bifurcation of worlds? Awesome, I'm in the right room. I've been calling it the two Earth split. Some people call it bifurcation of worlds. The term I've been using for the last 10 years is moved from a fear-based reality to a love-based reality, and that's exactly what we've been doing. Some people, the new term is 3D to 5D. They tend to forget about 4D, which is a really, really important part of the process. You don't jump between one world to another world, otherwise you end up in the cavern. And 4D is the bridge that allows us to move between worlds. So today I'm talking about my most recent book, which came to me. I am not a write a book in 30 days kind of person. So when you these things that say write a book in 90 days, that's not the real deal. Probably have hired a ghostwriter, or they've just done research. This book took me about a year and a half to write. And it started coming in about a year and a half ago. I knew I was going to be working with Metatron. I kept saying Metatron's cube, but I finally said, why am I saying Metatron's cube? And he said, there's a book I want you to write. So this book is actually channeled with Metatron. He is the Archangel Metatron. He is the scribe of God. He is the scroll keeper of the Akashic Records. And so he gave me a vision of what the future for Earth looks like. And this book is about the future of Earth. One of the reasons I got the insights right is people kept asking me, well, how do we create New Earth? What does it look like and how do we create it? So there's this draw of wanting to create this new reality, which is being called New Earth, heaven on earth. And one of the insights I got about 12 years ago is that we would be bringing heaven to earth. So before 2012, you basically had to die to get to heaven. What happened in 2012 is the 4D and the 3D converged. So a lot of people at 2012 said, well, what happened? What happened to our ascension that was supposed to happen in 2012? It happened. They just didn't realize that this was 4D convergence. And when 4D converged with 3D, it made it possible for us as humanity to make that leap into this new love-based, heart-based reality that we are now creating. One of the things a lot of people don't realize is that this process actually started in the early 1960s. So I grew up in a extremely patriarchal, fundamentalist, polygamous, doomsday cult. So I got to experience the extreme version of religious control. What's really fascinating about growing up in that and now looking back on my past is everything that's happening in the world right now, I was taught as a child. So none of this is new to me. The rabbit hole digging and the exposure of all this stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, I learned that when I was a child, and it's actually true. I thought my parents were crazy. Turns out they weren't as crazy as I thought they were. And I just had this insight this morning about this environment I grew up in. In religiosities, they talk about the ascension, as if the ascension is an event. The ascension is not an event, it's a process. The process began on planet Earth, and if that freaks you out for me to call it planet Earth, it's because this is by no means the only planet I've lived on, so I just talk about planet Earth like it's another planet. So the ascension began on planet Earth in the early 1960s. My understanding is it started in 1963. This is when love started returning back to the planet, and we started creating new Earth. So ascension is something that happens within us individually as our own inner resonance changes from fear to love, and our consciousness changes from a fear-based consciousness to a love-based consciousness. It also occurs collectively. So the insight I had this morning, which I thought was really fascinating, is this little cult that I grew up in, and I was taught all this ascension, and we had a storm cellar with the foot-thick walls and the 7 years food supply, and because the end of the world was coming. And I realized this morning that the man who started this cult got the message that the ascension had started. So they really thought the world was going to end in the 1960s, because that's actually when the ascension started. So it wasn't so crazy. In the 60s and 70s, all these little cults were popping up all over the country, because people got the message that the ascension was happening. But what they didn't understand is that it's a process, not an event. And that there's an entire misconception about what the word apocalypse means. So I grew up with the belief the word apocalypse meant, apocalyptic events, the world's coming to an end, and everyone on the planet is going to die, except for us 144,000 chosen people. Everybody, and I remember being a child thinking, well, what happens to everybody else? Who's going to clean up the mess? And all the dead animals and all the dead people and all the dead plants, who's going to clean that up? When is a spaceship going to come and take everybody away until the mess gets magically cleaned up by somebody else, and they drop us back down on the planet, all 144,000 of us, with an entire big world? And then I started understanding the word apocalypse does not mean what we've been told it means. The word apocalypse is a Greek term that means revelation. We are in the middle of the apocalypse right now. There's nothing to be afraid of unless you're one of the people that's trying to hide your stuff. Their stuff. The great apocalypse is the great revelation of all things once hidden. This is the reason we're starting to see all these things that have been hidden. They've been swept under the rugs, hidden away in closets. Skeletons are coming out of closets, the rugs are being rolled up, and all the riffraff is being brought out from underneath rugs. So this is the revelation of all these things being revealed. This is the apocalypse. And there's nothing to be afraid of. It's a beautiful thing that all of this stuff that's been hidden is now coming to the surface. And the reason it's coming to the surface is so we can heal it. If we don't know that the disease exists, how can we possibly cure the disease? So now we're seeing how corrupt our political systems are, how corrupt the business systems are, how corrupt the education systems are, how corrupt everything is, and how everything in our world is presently driven by fear. Now, fear is very, very divisive, obviously, and it disguises really well as love. So I've been telling people what's been going, but the way we've been living our lives for thousands and thousands of years in this fear-based reality is fear disguised as love. And we've seen that in our religions since the beginning of religion. And you can tell if it's fear disguised as love if there's a condition placed on it. If, then. If you don't do this, then you get punished. If you don't do this, then it means you don't love humanity. If you don't do this, then you're going to feel guilty and spend eternity suffering for it. So when there's guilt, shame, resentment, judgment attached to it, it's a fear-based belief. And it's often disguised as love. And our religiosities have been great at that for thousands of years. The corporate media has now figured out how to use use those terms to program, that's why it's called television programming, to program humanity with fear-based beliefs disguised as love, and they're really difficult to recognize. So that's what we've been living in. And what's happening right now is that humanity is waking up more. We are in the middle of the Great Awakening, and those of us in the spiritual community have known for a while this was coming. There was an awakening that started in the early 1960s when love came back to the planet, and we saw that through the hippie movement. All those great songs from the 1960s that need to be brought back to life. They're so beautiful and loving, and somehow they disappeared. But what happened is the dark side of the contrast went on defense. When it realized it actually needed to defend itself, it went on defense. And so that's what's been going on. What's happening on the planet isn't any different than what's been happening on the planet for thousands of years. It's not like this started 10 years ago. It's just that contrast went on hyperdrive, realized it didn't have the ball in its court anymore, and went on defense. So the first step, there have been awakening experiences, awakening times on this planet, many times. And about every 500 years, a spiritual teacher would come in and bring the light back in, wake people back up again, and then, Buddha is an example. Yeshua, as I prefer to call him, as an example. They would come and they would bring the light back to the planet, bring the love back to the planet, and that's what started happening in the 1960s as love started coming back to the planet. And we started seeing that through people like Martin Luther King Jr. bringing the love that he was teaching to back into the planet. And so there was an awakening in the 1960s. There was another big one in 1987 with a harmonic convergence. Another big one in 2008 with the Great Recession, which woke a lot of people up, got them prepared for 2012. And another massive one that started, the Great Awakening that started in 2020. And these tend to fall in line with events that cause human beings to be brought to their knees in a way that pulls them out of materialism and into spirituality. And 2020 actually did that. A lot of people became spiritual again after 2020. So each one of these awakenings begins this snowball effect. 2020 was the beginning of the Great Awakening, and those of us who had our awakening experiences prior to 2012 knew that. We kept hearing, a Great Awakening is coming, a Great Awakening is coming, a Great Awakening is coming. And we knew we were getting prepared for this Great Awakening, not sure when it was coming. Although I got the insight years ago that by 2020 we wouldn't recognize this place. I didn't know what it meant when we all got sent behind closed doors to reconnect with ourselves and to find the I am within ourselves. And that I started hearing that 2020 is going to be the year of hindsight and the year of foresight, which it ended up being. And it was like we took a pause button and then we started creating these two different realities. So right now, that's what the bifurcation of world is. We are in the process of creating two completely different realities. One of those realities is based in humanitarianism. The other reality is based in totalitarianism. And we're at the point where we have to each choose which of those realities we're going to create. We are the creators of our reality. Every thought we have, every word we speak, every action we partake, we are actually creating our world. This heaven on earth already exists. It's already been coded, it's already been created in the ethers. Our resonance is what draws it into our experience. So everything that exists in our physical world has already been created in the quantum field, in the etheric field, in the field of creation. Our actions and our choices actually draw it to be experienced through us. Our resonance is what draws this new earth, heaven on earth, into our human experience. It's already there. That's why I can see it. That's why I could write about it in this book. I know what it looks like. I did my best. I think it needs to be made into a movie personally, because to be able to put into words what I could see, what this planet looks like, it already exists. We just need to draw it forward and physically create it in our physical reality. That begins with our own consciousness. So if we're going to create a love-based reality where human beings' choices are made out of love as their defaults, rather than fear as the default, as it presently is, we live in a fear-based reality. People's choices and decisions are made out of fear, whether they realize it or not, because it's a fear-based reality. And if we're going to make that shift into New Earth, we have to be willing to check our beliefs. Is what I believe based in fear? Are the choices I'm making based in fear? Be willing to look at all of our beliefs. And when we do that, this willingness to look at every single belief we have, that's called doing your shadow work. And I've had people ask me, what is shadow work? Well, it's a willingness to sit down and like take every belief you have and lay it out on a buffet of beliefs and then take a look at it. Oh yeah, that one, I forgot, I picked that up as a kid. Do I really believe that anymore? Does that really serve my highest and greatest good? Actually, no. I think I'll process that one. Oh, you'll love it. I get visuals all the time. I'm seeing a blender. Take a food processor. Take that belief and stick it in the food processor. I'll take that one, stick it in the processor. So we're going to process our beliefs. If we're going to change our consciousness, we have to be willing to dive into every single belief. From the hand-me-down beliefs, as I call them, that we've just been handed down and just have clung to because our parents believed it, our grandparents believed it. It's what humanity believes. Oh, we've always believed that. Oh, just because I've always believed that, does that mean that's what I should continue to believe? Does that serve me? And so this begins with us to deep dive into our beliefs. And most of our beliefs are actually based in fear. So when we start doing that inner work of processing our beliefs and transmuting them with love, then we can start creating a new love-based reality. So I hear people all the time say, I want to change the world, but I don't want to change anything about myself. And the external world is always a reflection of the internal world. So if we're going to create this new love-based heaven on earth, new earth, 5D, pick the label that works for you, it's all the same thing. If we're going to create that, we have to be willing to do the work within ourselves. That's the 4D part. That's the bridge between the old world and the new world, is the process that occurs within ourselves. Once we change that and we process that within ourselves, we can then start to project and also create this reality that wants to be birthed through each of us. We're actually birthing a new world. We're creating a new world, and it is birthed through our hearts. And so all of this work, all this shadow work, all of this disbelieving of everything we've ever believed is all heart work. What's been missing in this reality is that the human heart has not been working properly. The human heart has been constricted by fear, and if we're going to create this new reality, it's about healing the human heart so that it can work to its fullest potential. When the human heart is working to its fullest potential, everything changes. It's impossible to hate. It's impossible to harm. It's impossible to want harm on another person. It's impossible to despise your past. It's impossible to feel like a victim. It's impossible to feel shame, resentment, blame, anger toward anyone or anything. When the human heart is working to its full potential, it manifests like magic. It's really quite amazing. And when humanity is working from the heart, what happens is that every one of our systems fail to exist. Every system on earth right now is based on fear. Every system on earth right now is based on greed and control. None of them are based on love. And all based on the lie that human beings need to be governed. the lie that human beings need to be controlled, the lie that human beings are worthless and competitive and mean and nasty as their nature, the lie that human beings are one of the worst things to happen to planet Earth. That was all created as a narrative to keep us under the confines and controls of fear. The truth is, human beings are divine expressions of love. Compassion is at the core of the human heart. Cooperation is the core of the human heart. Human beings, what separates human beings from the rest of the animal kingdom, as they say, is our ability to create. We are creators. That is how we're made in the image and likeness of the one creator, the creative love of all that is. And when we're not creating, we're depressed. That's why you have so many sad people right now, because their expression is being depressed. Human beings need to be able to express themselves through this beautiful, loving, creative heart that every single one of us is given. And all these systems are based in control that have prevented the human heart from expressing itself to its fullest potential. So this new earth we're creating is based on the resonance of the divine human. Human beings in their original design, and I talk about this because I'm actually an embodied Elohim. I don't necessarily know, a lot of people know what that is. There are a lot of us in human form right now who are walk-ins, drop-ins, volunteers, star beings. We volunteer to take on human form so that we can teach humanity how to make better choices and teach humanity how to heal the human heart and to teach humanity how to restore their divine human blueprint. So the divine human blueprint is one of the most extraordinary designs ever created in the universe. And human beings have just forgotten who they are. That's part of this new earth. The divine human is being restored. The human heart is capable of creating an extraordinary experience for all life on earth. There is no lack. That is an illusion that's been created in the fear-based world. There's nothing in the universe has been created to experience lack. Everything in the entire universe is created to experience prosperity. I'm not necessarily talking about money. Everything in the universe is coded to prosper. Trees are created to die and experience lack. They're created to experience prosperity. Growing, thriving, and prospering, fruitful and multiplying. That's why we use the term money tree, because it's an expression of how money is intended to grow, thrive, and prosper, fruitful and multiplying. Every human being is designed to grow, thrive, and prosper, be fruitful and multiplying. The misperception was created by those who intend to hold us in this fear-based, lack-based reality. And we know the truth. The truth is that in love, all things are possible. So I use the term love as an alternate to the word God, because a lot of people you hear the word God, they assume religion. God is love. So I use love interchangeably, and with love, all things are possible. With the heart, all things are possible. So every decision we make needs to come from the heart of who we are and what is the highest and greatest good for all life on earth. This whole for the greater good, that's not enough. Sustainability, that's not enough. We're talking about prosperity for all life on earth and in alignment with the highest and greatest good for all living kind. I don't use the word mankind, I think that's too limiting too, because I want the plants and the animals to thrive and prosper as well. So, all living kind. What this new earth looks like is amazing. A couple of quick little things. The word system is going to be replaced with service. Systems were created, we can still use the S, right? All we're doing is changing it from system to service. Systems were created for the systemization of the human experience. So when I got this visual, when it came in, I was seeing a conveyor belt. I put the people on the conveyor belt and running through the systems. Those systems were created for the means of systemizing and controlling humanity. Put them in the system, starting with kindergarten through 12th grade. You got them in the education system. You got the financial system. You put them in the bank, you run them through the system. All of those are going to be changing to services. And you can see just by changing the word itself, you feel the resonance instantly shift. Because it's no longer about the system supporting the system, it's about the service and support of humanity. So everything's going to be based on services and supports rather than systems. So the education system is going to be changing. And the way the education system changes to be about service and support, when enough parents say, I'm not going to do that anymore. So much so, that's what happened here in California in the last month. So many parents pulled their kids out of the education system. The education system decided to not enforce the COVID-19 vaccine. Because so many parents said, I'm not going to send my kids to school if you enforce it. That's only been in the last month. Woo! This is the power to the people, right? So one of the things that we've been saying for years in the spiritual community is we're the ones we've been waiting for. I remember 10 years ago, we're the ones we've been waiting for. Oh, isn't that lovely? And then the whole political arena that happened in the last 5 years, we the people stood up and said, we're the people, and we the people are going to take back our planet. And what it turned into, we really need to unify both of these two groups who think they're on opposite sides, but they're really not. That's part of the illusion, is that there's a division. The division's an illusion that's been created by corporate media. There is no division. And we need to remember that. It was intentionally created to keep us from remembering our full power. And so the insight I started getting a couple of years ago is, oh, this is how it works. We, the people, are the ones we've been waiting for. It's not either or. It's us together, united. People who think they're on the side of the conservative right, blah, 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 pick a label. And people who think they're on the liberal left, blah, 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 pick a label. I don't do either one. I do what Yeshua said, which is to turn the other cheek. Turn the other cheek. Oh, look at that over there. Isn't that interesting what's happening over there on the right? I'm going to turn the other cheek. Look at what's happening over there on the left. When you turn the other cheek, you get to see the entire picture. It was never about turn the other cheek so you get slapped up by the other side. Look from the other perspective. He was a brilliant teacher. You really get into what he really meant. And so when you stand in the middle and you look at the whole perspective, you get to see the entire picture, and you get to see the division is an illusion that was created to keep us from unifying. So we have to be willing to have those difficult conversations where we were told, if our family member doesn't get the jab, you can't talk to them. That was all created by corporate media to keep us under control. It used to be religion, but then so many people left religion now. Now the media is doing it, right? It's like, well, we can use those same words, but let's just say it on the TV and we'll just keep them all divided. And so that's what, when enough of us recognize, oh, this is all just an illusion that's been painted to keep us divided and conquered and controlled. We're not going to buy that anymore. When enough of us unify and understand we're no longer willing to buy into the illusion of division, we get to start creating an entirely new world that serves the highest and greatest good of all concerned. Right now, our systems have all been created for the greater good of the couple of people at the top. So they use the term, oh, this is for the greater good. Well, it's for the greater good for themselves. Everything in our physical existence begins with a vision. And if you can envision it, this is what's fascinating. If you can envision it, it already exists. It just needs us to physically manifest it. everything you can envision is a seed that already has, just as a seed of, pick a tree seed, any kind of seed, has within it all the resources to fully manifest as the tree. The same thing holds true with every vision that we have. Every vision comes with it all the resources to be able to grow that vision into physical reality. So when we envision this new earth, it's already created. It already has all the resources in place. We just have to step forward, and the universe says, I see your intent, and I'll support you. The difference is a lot of people are sitting back and saying, what if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't happen? What if is a fear-based belief? So if we get ourselves out of if and what if, and move into, I know for a fact this is true, and we are creating this, and I am going to be a part of it. And I'm putting myself out there, and the universe says, yes, I will support you. And every single one of us play a vital role. I've had people say, what can one person do? And in everything that has ever happened in our world, it always began with one person. One person makes all the difference. And each one of us are those one person. Every thought, every action, every belief, every step takes us in the direction of drawing this new reality through us, as us. We're the creators. We're the ones that volunteer to be here to lead humanity forward. And together we will see it through.